Well, good afternoon, everyone, wherever you may be. Welcome to Studio B in the Elmwood Media Complex. It's Wednesday, May 28th, 2025. I'm Kevin Rouch, and this is the Daily Scrum. Glad to have you on board our second webcast as we start to get everything kind of pulled together and get some comments. Made some mistakes where, listen to the one yesterday. I referred to American League as the West and National League as I don't know what I was doing there. So sorry about that. A couple things. You wish you could go back, but that's when you do it live. That's what happens. You don't get a chance to do it again. So again, I'm Kevin Rouch. And this is part of our C-Bus Sports lineup, the Daily Scrum. And we'll be bringing it to you each day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, unless we say otherwise, unless other things get in the way. But that's our plan, is to do it every day at 3. We got a special guest today. In just about 15 minutes, we're going to talk to our good friend Ed Francis from First Ohio Battery and other stuff. He's a Renaissance guy. We'll talk to him about all the stuff that he's got going on. But first, let's look around. Well, first, let's do a little introduction. I got a couple just personal things to let you know about. First is, and there's a video of this now on the homepage at C-Bus Sports and also on our YouTube channel. My wife Carol and I had a chance to go to El Dorado Scioto Downs this past Saturday. Just wanted to kind of hang out and have some fun. We got an invite to get a free dinner, or actually free buffet in the clubhouse there. That's because my wife is not afraid to play the slots every once in a while. So that's the nice thing. It's one of the great things that you get for it, is you sometimes get a meal, and that's when I tag along. But as part of that experience, we signed up, as can anyone, to get a ride on the gate truck. Carol sat in the front. I sat in the back, came backwards, but I got a video, just a little bit over a minute of that experience. So I hope you get a chance to take a look at that. It was really a lot of fun. And it's eerily quiet at stages of that till they go by you the last time. But anyway, a lot of fun, a lot of good people down there. We plan to go back and maybe even do that again. It's funny. Our youngest son, Oliver, who is a videographer down in North Carolina, looked at the footage and said I had a really steady hand. And I thought about it. I actually did it on my phone. And I think he said he said that the stabilization was great. And I thought, well, I think it's because the track was, there's a little bit of bounce, and my hands were probably shaking a little bit and evened out. So you can take a look at the video, see if you think it was stabilized or not. But anyway, I had a great time down there. Thanks to all the folks at El Dorado Scioto Downs. The other bit of news this week, and it will help our coverage here on C-Bus Sports and on the Daily Scrum, is I got my drone pilot license, which you have to do if you're going to do any kind of commercial work. And usually they think that the FAA wants, anything that's on YouTube is going to be commercial work because it has the possibility of being monetized. So I thought, I don't want to take any chances. The fines look pretty heavy. So I took the test and passed. I did not get a perfect score, I will tell you. But I did enough to pass. And I want to thank the folks down at Y City Flying Service in my hometown of Zanesville, run by the Norman family, who also run Norman Aviation down there. And by the way, their family goes back to the first pilot's license, way back in 1927. They're like 5 steps removed from the Wright brothers in terms of people taught this person who taught this person who taught the Normans, kind of thing. And so they've been around a long time in Zanesville, started with a grass field, now asphalt down there. Didn't have to do a flying test. It was a written test that I did there. So I wanted to say thank you to Valerie Norman, who runs the office there and made sure I got in the right place and got everything laid out for the test. And her son Ashton, who is also a pilot and the next generation, along with his sister Ariel down there in Zanesville. So thanks to everybody at Y City Flying Service and Norman Aviation. I have a drone pilot license, so stay tuned on that. We'll talk more about that down the road. A couple of things going on in the national news today. The NBA playoffs, we have 2 series now at 3-1. Pacers will play tonight as they go to, they've got the 3-1 lead over the Knicks, and they will play tonight at Madison Square Garden in Game 5. And the Pacers have really just played really good defense. I've enjoyed watching them play. Tonight is the West, so the Pacers and the Knicks in the East. Oklahoma City and Minnesota in the West. They go at it tonight with OKC up 3-1, and that will be in Oklahoma City tonight. Now, what's interesting about these 4 teams is that only one of them has won a championship, an NBA championship, and that being the Knicks. The last time that they won a championship was in 1973. So you go back to the days of Walt Frazier and Dave DeBusschere and Bradley and Phil Jackson, Bill Bradley and Phil Jackson. The last time the Knicks were in the finals was in 1999, some 26 years later, and they lost to San Antonio. Had a couple of big guys that could play a little bit in Tim Duncan and David Robinson and a lot of other guys who played great roles on that Spurs team. So the Knicks only one to win a championship, 73 last time in 99. Pacers have not won a championship. They were a runner-up in 2000 to Kobe and Shaq's Lakers. Again, that was in 2000. Oklahoma City has never won it. They were a runner-up in 2012 to the Miami Heat. Of course, that's LeBron and Dwayne Wade. Timberwolves have never been in the final game. So you're going to have, if the Knicks are knocked out on Thursday, tomorrow, you're going to have a new championship, a never-before champion. So it'd be fun to watch a little bit of that. I mentioned we've got Ed Francis coming up in just about 7 minutes. Let's look at, before we get him aboard, let's take a look at what's going on around our area. And a game that finished not too long ago, the Clippers fell in Rochester 5-0. Of course, I talked yesterday about Parker Messick, who I wanted everybody to see throw. Unfortunately, he was held back today and did not throw. Will Dion, another left-hander, took the hill for the Clippers, but the Clippers are having a rough time in Rochester. They lost on Monday in the Memorial Day game. In that one, it was 4-1. They managed 4 hits on Monday. Today, only 3, as Rochester got them 5-0. I watched that game today and listened to my friend Ryan Mitchell on 920 at the same time, because when you're on the feeds, when you get the video feeds, they have the hometown crew, and they're very good, but I wanted to listen to Ryan Mitchell, so I turned that up on 920 and watched the game. I watched it on MILBTV.TV, which is a paid thing. If you pay for like MLB.com and the audio there, you also get MILB. But you can also get it for free, the video, on the Bally Sports app. So Bally's still around in that sense. They have an app, and you can watch all the minor league games for free on that app. So anyway, the Clippers had a couple of really good chances early on. They had the bases loaded with nobody out in the first inning. Cade Cavalli started for Rochester. He was a first-round pick a few years ago, and he was able to get 3 punch-outs to get out of the inning, and then a runner on third with 1 out in the second. That really was the last threat for the Clippers on the day. Only 3 hits, but one of those important because David Fry Cleveland Guardians, David Fry, the parent club, has sent him to Columbus for the next part of his rehab assignment. He was with Akron last week with the Rubber Ducks. So he's been in a couple of games, had a hit today. And here we're going to. Had a hit today and on his way in rehab. Now, he injured his elbow last year, if you remember, with the Guardians in a game against Toronto in June 23rd. He was catching and had a tough throw to second base, a little awkward, ended up hurting his elbow. Now, he stayed with the team all year, and he was able to hit, and maybe he became a utility guy because he wasn't able to throw from behind the plate. And if you remember, had a huge walk-off home run in Game 4 against the Yankees in the ALCS, but ended up he needed to have UCL surgery. That's ulnar collateral ligament surgery. If it's severe, we think of it as Tommy John surgery. His went a little bit better, a little quicker. He could come back because he had that in October. So he's back. Now, he's not throwing yet in the games in competition. He is throwing a heavy ball this week, and soon he'll throw a real ball, and then he'll probably be limited for a while, maybe first base if he plays. But they're really looking at him for a designated hitter spot with Cleveland. So he had a hit today. We'll see how long that David Fry stays with the Clippers. They'll play again tomorrow night. Will the Red Wings and the Clippers? That game starts at 6:45. Again, you can watch it for free on the Bally Sports app, or if you're a paid subscriber, as am I, on MLB.com and MILB.TV, or you can just listen to Ryan Mitchell. He'll paint the picture for you on Fox Sports 920. Well, I think we have our guest with us. Let's see if we can put this together. Ed, are you there? Here, hold on. We're trying to make this work real quick. Now, I thought I had you. Can you hear me? You can hear me, but the thing is, I don't have you connected here. Okay, this is our first time doing this, and I had it connected earlier. Maybe it just gets away from us. So hold on, Ed. We're going to get you. Tell you what, we'll just take a little music break while we do this, all right? So stay tuned. We'll be back with Ed Francis in a minute. Okay, we're going to try this again. Ed, are you there? Well, you're here. Here, hold on. We're going to do this a different way just to show that we know how to do this. So hold on. That is a catchy tune. I'm glad that we have that. This is odd because we have everything paired. Let's see if we can. The test went so beautifully earlier. Here, so let's. Again, we're just kind of working through here. Hold on. I know you're there. I can see you. But it's, of course, we've got, the beautiful dead air. I'll tell you what, Ed, hang up. I'm going to call you right back. Let's see if we can do it that way. Maybe that'll be the way to make it work. So if you hang up, there you go. And now I'm going to try to call you back. Are you there? Ed? So much. I don't even. There, let's go look again here. Everything is hooked up right. I'll tell you what, Ed, let's do this a different way. Here, let's see. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
All right.
Can you hear me?
I can. Now, you may be getting a little bit of backup. I can now. So,
okay.
Not perfect. Can you hear? So you can hear, I can hear. I think our audience can hear. Okay. Hey, Ed Francis.
Can you hear me? Can you?
Yeah, you're going to get
I'm
a
here
little.
now.
Okay. So you can hear me okay, right? It's going to be a little bit of a delay, unfortunately.
That's okay. That happens.
Yeah, we had it all. The test worked beautifully this morning. And,
I think what happened is it found out that you got your drone pilot license and it bailed on us. I'm pretty sure that's how that went down.
Well, so first of all, thank you for that, because you're absolutely right. Now, I have to tell you that Ed and I got to know each other this year, and kind of ran across each other before that just a couple of times. But this year, we sat together in the press box at the Blue Jackets games. That we were lucky enough, or Ed unfortunate enough, to sit right beside me. But we had a great time up there covering the Blue Jackets. But explain why you were there, because obviously C-Bus Sports. That's why we're here today. But you were with First Ohio Battery, so talk about that a little bit and the coverage you guys have of the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, this is actually coming up. This summer will be 5 years that I've been there, and this year was a new opportunity to go and dig a little bit deeper and to get into the press box for the games and really just digest hockey in a way that I really hadn't before. And I had great company, particularly to my right where you were stationed.
Well, thank you.
And of course, that's what you told me to say, right?
No, that was perfect. You got your money.
No, yeah. But yeah, I think, I think the way that this season went, I don't think there are a lot of people who thought that this team would be, on the second to last night of the season, still involved in a playoff race. And so it was really fascinating. I feel like you and me and all of Blue Jackets Nation got to see a team mature before their eyes as this season went on. Those first few weeks were, I think, about what we all kind of expected, and then you watched a lot of guys get really good in a really short period of time. And it was good. It was a great season.
Yeah, it really was. And after the tragedy of losing Johnny Gaudreau, his brother Matt, I mean, it was such a heavy pall cast in the air at the beginning of that. And then you had a couple of key injuries right out of the gate with Boone Jenner and Goodbranson, and it looked dim. I mean, let's face it, it looked like it was going to be one of those years. But what I found fascinating was the coaching style of Dean Evison right out of the gate. I thought he was perfect at the perfect time. And some players really stepped up. Talk about that a little bit, because, one of my favorites is Matthew Olivier, and, he and Fantilli and some others grew before our eyes. I mean, they became players that, if they can keep that going, add back in, the stars at the beginning, this next year is going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, and if this team And look, every team goes through bumps and bruises throughout the season, and every team could make this argument. But if you have 82 games of Boone Jenner and not 26, if you have 82 games of Sean Monahan and not 54, I think is what he ended up playing this year. Those two guys, between the two of them playing 50, 60, 70 games that they otherwise wouldn't have played, would you have found 2 points in there? You would have.
Yeah.
You definitely would have. And I would make the case that even if you only have one of those two for 82 games, you still probably find a way. You asked about, who kind of caught my eye in a way. Look, there are plenty of guys. Zach Werenski has been talked about, deservedly so. He's a Norris candidate. He's a finalist for that. That I think we're still probably looking at that, maybe, heading to Kel McCarr, which is fine. But Werenski deserves a lot. All the accolades that he's got, he's deserved. All the praise that he's got, especially during that Four Nations tournament, well deserved. But I'll tell you who really, really stuck out to me this season is a guy I just mentioned, Sean Monahan. I mean, the maturity that he brought and the adversity that he faced coming here to play with his best friend and then having that taken away, weeks before training camp gets started. The poise that he showed this season, his ability as a center, I knew he was a good player. He's a great player.
He really is.
He's not going to finish top 5 or top 10 in Hart Trophy voting for the most valuable player in the league, but he probably should, because what he did and what the Jackets were able to do when he was on the ice was just phenomenal. I remember there was a game, it may have even been that last game of the season, but it was one of those games where you and I were sitting side by side, and in a span of about 5 minutes, real time 5 minutes, not even game time 5 minutes, he won 2 faceoffs in the offensive zone. Both times the puck ended up on the stick of Werenski, and then got it over. I think one may have been Marchenko, the other may have been Kent Johnson, and it resulted in 2 goals. And they were both goals were because Monahan won a faceoff in the offensive zone against guys who were pretty good at taking faceoffs, opposing him there. And it's little things like that. We don't really think, win the faceoff and it's going to have, some big end result. But the fact is faceoffs matter. He's great at those. His leadership, his scoring touch, his ability to be in the right place at the right time, just all of that. He was so valuable to the team this year, and 57 points in 54 games. Where would this team have been had he had 82 games? And I'll take it one step further. And this is a less objective side and more of a homer side of me. That team, the way they played at the end of the season, that's not a 4 or 5 game series with the Washington Capitals in round 1.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny because you and I talked about this as soon as Monahan went out, was the difference in the power play, which you've talked about, but it was noticeable right away, and then the stats bore it out as we went forward. I mean, he just makes things happen.
4 or 5% on the power. I mean, it was single digits on power play effectiveness when he was out of the lineup.
So now we're looking at the summer. We like, where things went, the uptick at the end of the year. What changes do you think they'll make? Or even in the draft, what are they looking for to try and, just bump it up a little bit?
I think there are going to be a few familiar faces that just don't come back, and whether or not that's upsetting for some people will just depend on maybe their attachment to a particular player. Sean Corrali he's a Columbus guy. He's been with the team for the last number of years. Kind of that bottom six grinder, utility Swiss Army knife, wants to do it all. Great player, but I'd be surprised to shocked if he were to be with the team coming up this season. Jack Johnson, kind of that same thing. He didn't play a ton this year, but he's one of those guys where, it's not his first go around with the Blue Jackets. Where are we with him? Again, shocked, probably an understatement if he were to return. I don't think he's coming back. So I think you're going to lose a couple of those veteran players that maybe didn't quite have the minutes. And then you get into more intriguing pending free agents.
James Van Riemsdyk, what do you think?
I'd love to see him back. He's one of those guys where he strikes me as someone who, even once he's done playing, could still be with an organization in a coaching role.
Absolutely. Yeah, he was a great mentor this year and played well. And once he got on the injury where he had part of his tooth still in his gum and stitched up and came back out on the ice, come on.
Yeah. I mean, 36 points in 71 games, almost identical to his production last season when he was with Boston. He had 38 points in 71 games there. You're looking at a guy who, when the season starts, he will be 36 years old. I still think he's got another year. He didn't really give any indication that he was thinking about not playing next year. I would love to see him back. I think that's probably one of those toss-ups. I'd put Justin Danforth in that category as well, where, does he come back? Maybe. James Van Riemsdyk, I like a little bit more just because of those things that you just said, that toughness, that leadership value that he has. Kent Johnson several times throughout this season, and Adam Fantilli several times throughout this season talked about what it's meant to have JVR playing right there with him, especially when Van Riemsdyk, when there were some injuries, JVR got bumped up to that second line. He was playing with Kent Johnson, and that was good chemistry. Now, James Van Riemsdyk, his days of being a top six player might well be behind him a little bit, when we're not in a pinch. But I'd love to see him back. Does he come back? Flip a coin. Cap's going up. Blue Jackets obviously have money to spend. I think that it's going to be one of those scenarios where Don Waddell and Dean Evison, and they're going to have to get together, and they're going to have to make a decision about what kind of route they want to go. You're going to have guys who want those minutes. Gavin Brindley comes to mind. Luca Del Belbaluz. He had a pretty good showing when he came up, and then went back to Cleveland during the Four Nations break, and that was the last that Columbus saw him this year. But he still ended the season in Cleveland and still performing at a high level. These guys are going to want roster spots, so there's tough competition. I'd love to see JVR back, though. And then you've also on the defensive side, there are two big question marks there: Dante Fabro, Ivan Provorov.
Yeah, I'd like to have them both. Yeah,
I'd love to have them both back too. I don't know if.
And I think they'd both like to be here, based on conversations in the room, right?
Yeah. I think they've both been pretty open that Columbus is their first choice. It's one of those situations where I think both players want to come back, and the team would love to have them both back. Now it's just a matter of making it work. You might, if you're the Blue Jackets organization, you might want to have them back. But if another team is going to offer, when you have a salary cap that's expanding, dramatically this summer, if you're going to have a team that's going to overpay by $2 or $3 million a year for one of those guys, which is a distinct possibility, you might have to just let them go, which is best for that player. Sure, great.
Sure.
Stinks for the team a little bit. I'd say at least one of them are back into the fold. I don't know if Fabro comes in this fall. with his name on that top pairing with Rinsky. There's been no secret that the Blue Jackets really want to make an upgrade on the blue line, and it sounds like they're going to have the money and they're going to have the flexibility and the draft capital to go out and maybe get someone to pair with Rinsky on that top line. But if you were to tell me right now that second pairing in October is Denton Matejchuk and Dante Fabro, or Denton Matejchuk and Ivan Provorov with Fabro on that third pairing, yeah, I mean, count me in for that.
Now, the big question, and we all know what it is.
Yeah.
Goaltenders. What happens this summer?
From every indication that the organization's given in the, 5 or 6 weeks that they've had for the offseason now, it sounds like Elvis Merzlikins may be back next season, which I think was not something that a lot of people expected. But I think that it is something that the Blue Jackets have to be smart about. There's a buyout option. They could afford the buyout, but it may force their hand a little bit with a few other things. The team was relatively happy with the way that he played this year. I know that some fans were less happy than the team. When you look at the way that Jet Greaves played, especially those last couple weeks, but even before that, when he had little spurts throughout the season, I'd be very surprised if they are not that 1 and 2 combo next year in some order. Now, I don't know who the starting goaltender will be in the middle of October when the season starts. But I think that those are probably the two goalies that you're looking at on the roster. Danil Tarasov's a restricted free agent. I would be surprised if he were on the roster next year, in part because coming up at the end of this calendar season, so when that ends on June 30th, you have a scenario where Jet Greaves is signed to a one-way contract in the 25-26 season. The 24-25 season, he was on a two-way contract. So the Blue Jackets could move him back and forth between Cleveland, not have to worry about him clearing waivers, not have to worry about paying him an NHL salary versus an AHL salary. But that changes starting on July 1st. So that's a one-way contract. So regardless of where he's at, he's going to have to receive an NHL salary, and he's not going to be waiver exempt anymore. So there's going to be a team that goes for him next year if Columbus does try to send him to Cleveland, and they'd be smart to do it, they being the teams that would put in that waiver claim for him.
Sure. All right. So the home run this summer, and we've talked about it briefly. Does anybody have Mitch Marner's phone number?
Yeah. Yeah, it's intriguing. There are dollars available. If you're Mitch Marner, it's a chance to come in and play with one of the best young groups in the NHL. A team that, even without Mitch Marner, the expectation in 25-26 should be playoffs. There's no doubt about that. This is a team that was 2 points out this year and has a growing nucleus. So no doubt about it that they should be better next year, even without Marner. You have to make that call, don't you?
I think you do. And the selling point for Columbus has been, this is a great place to raise a family, to have that kind of time, along with other players that are doing the same thing. He got married in 2023, and they had their first child. Earlier this month.
Yeah. And so you have to, like you said, I mean, there have been plenty of players who have come in to Columbus with that exact thing on their mind. They say time and time again that, well, I hear this is a great place to raise a family, a great place to, kind of start a life, and a lot of players stay here even when their playing career's over. That is not something that you're going to hear in Toronto or New York. I mean, players tend to kind of make that exodus.
Yeah.
This is the kind of city that for a guy like Marner, if that's what he wants to put his focus on, is his family still having a chance to win, getting his payday, I think he's got to consider it. There aren't, even with the cap going up, there aren't going to be a bevy of teams that can just line up and offer him 11, 12, $13 million a year, which is what he's going to get, and probably on the higher side of that. But Columbus is one of those teams. And if you look at some of the other teams that have the largest amounts of cap room available, they're not Columbus. We're talking about teams like Buffalo.
Right.
We're talking about teams like Anaheim. Now, Anaheim probably has Columbus beat when it comes to location. But are they up to par when it comes to the next 3 to 5 year potential with a Columbus? Probably not. Buffalo certainly isn't. It's also, with all due respect to Buffalo.
It's it's a little colder. Those breezes blow a little colder in Buffalo. Well, at this point, before Johnny Gaudreau signed, nobody thought that was a possibility, right?
Yeah.
And
that was a surprise for all of us.
Well, it sure was. And it happened quickly. And my understanding, and again, I don't have any specific knowledge, but that Marner has a bit of a relationship with Rick Nash. And Nash has shown himself to be pretty savvy in player acquisition, in helping that process, especially with young players. So I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me a ton now.
Wouldn't surprise me a bit either. I think, there are a number of teams that have been mentioned and that have been linked to him, and Columbus is one of them. He's going to have a choice. Ultimately it's going to be his decision. I think you're right. Him and Rick Nash, both a couple of Canadian guys, a couple of guys from the Toronto area, right?
Yeah, and Rick Nash was involved with the national team when he was on it. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Okay, now, before I let you go, got a few things real quick. Playoffs now. We going to see a repeat of last year in the finals?
Up until last night, I still thought the Stars were going to make it out of the West. I don't know if you can beat a Connor McDavid team 3 times in a row, though. So, and Carolina, congrats to them on finally putting to bed the 15-game losing streak in the Eastern Conference Finals over the last 2 decades.
Yeah,
they have no chance. They have no chance of coming back from 3-1. They have no chance coming back from 3-0 in that series. So, yeah, I think we're looking at Florida and Edmonton again. That is going to be, as it was last year, a captivating set of at least 6 games. And I wouldn't be surprised if it goes 7 again. Right now, man, I don't know. You can't pick against Florida to win it all, right?
Yeah, I don't think you can. It's funny because I've gotten used to the fact that Bob is in goal for them. But I got to tell you, Seth Jones, he just seems a little weird. I don't know why, but he's playing a great role with them.
Yeah, he's, going out. That's one of those, there are not a lot of trades in the NHL where it feels like both teams really won the trade.
Yeah.
Florida, obviously, Seth Jones has been playing great. And then Spencer Knight, Chicago, the Blackhawks got their goalie of the future, and he gave that team in the last couple months of the season, he gave them hope. Between that, and as the Blue Jackets have found out this year, you have to have a good goaltender. Look at what happens when you get that hot goalie coming in.
The
Blue Jackets were right there, and so that was an interesting trade, but I think it worked out well for both teams, and obviously it worked out well for Florida with them being one more game away from their second straight finals appearance, and I think they would be the favorite in that, and I would say Cats in 6, maybe. It could go 7, but I'll say Cats in 6.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll have a chance to talk more about it. Last thing, I mentioned in your intro before the technology went south that you are a Renaissance kind of guy. One of the things that you do, and of course, you're a former radio person and working in private, business and all the stuff that you do. But one of the cool things that I had a chance to witness last Wednesday was your company that does trivia nights, trivia contests at local watering holes. And in fact, just coincidentally, there is, I think tonight, right? You'll be
tonight, yes,
at the filling station out in the Olentangy area. And I was there last week. We, my son Alex and I went. We started, hot. We had a few things going for us, and then disaster. We kind of choked it up at the end, and you were very kind about it.
It's
I appreciate
hard to sustain. You and Alex were a team of two on your first night, going up against teams of 5 or 6 people who are battle tested, and they've been going for years. You did more than hold your own. I was thoroughly impressed with you both, and I think what
nice
we had.
To say it.
I think you were in 3rd out of 11 about halfway through.
Yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough to do. Yeah,
we just say this: when you would read the question, there were some blank stares between the two of us. There were. It was. Okay, yeah, let's go with that kind of thing. But it was fun.
You got some of those too, though.
We did. But I will tell you, it is. If people haven't done it for a while, I think everybody's been around or seen it or whatever. But you do a great job. I love the questions.
Oh, thank you.
The technology is involved, but yet there's an analog portion where you write your answer down and bring it to you, and there's a chance to meet other people and. But again, I would tell everybody, and I know you do more than one night, but you personally do the Wednesdays at the filling station. Where else are you guys doing these?
So there is a beer barrel location. They've got a few around Columbus. We are there on Tuesday nights at their Dublin location. And then on Wednesday nights, we actually have another game that goes on around the same time that's down in Hilliard at 10 Pin Alley, which is a fun place. There's always a lot going on there. And then just last night, we actually we started, I don't think you know about this yet, we started a family-friendly trivia night over in New Albany at Bubbly Food Hall.
Wow.
At Libby Lou's, which is a really fun. They have all kinds of milkshakes and candy, and I haven't had any of it yet, but it looked so good yesterday. And so we started a family-themed trivia game there where some of the kids can get involved and answer some questions and win some prizes. So it's 4 different parts of town. So
yeah, although Grandview, we have a few places down here. We'll see what we can do maybe to get you guys down here. Just an easier time for me, just selfishly. That's all I'm looking for.
Hey, you're number one. So.
Okay, we'll see if we can put that together. Where would people go to find out though that information about you and the trivia stuff?
Yeah, Facebook or Instagram. If you just search Trivia 614, that is the name of the service there, and we keep up. We always put pictures up of the teams that win, and we'll give little clues and throw some memes up there and talk about the upcoming games that we have. So Trivia 614, Facebook or Instagram.
Well, we'll get a banner pulled up for you on CBUS Sports. Wait for that. Okay, now, I do want to say before you go back to the hockey and your job with First Ohio Battery, I think that you do, as we're trading compliments, I love your in-game updates. So people who, of course, we'll write a story and have some photos and maybe some videos on CBUS Sports. But in the spirit of Macy's and Gimbals here, I will tell you to folks story that you write, and number 2 on the list, and maybe should be number 1, is that in-game update with videos of the goals and that kind of stuff. And again, it's just First Ohio Battery, easy to find, right? Online.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's kind. I love, I like talking about the games as they go on. But I've really, in the last year or so especially, I've developed a fondness for the game previews, because there's so many little things where it's, such and such players coming up on this milestone, someone's coming up on that milestone. the Blue Jackets are playing so-and-so tonight, and this is going to be their third game in 4 nights. And when they have that in that third game, they're 0-8. Just these little nuggets of information that you can find. I have an affinity for that. So thank you for mentioning the game previews, because I feel like they can get swept under the rug a little bit. But yeah, there's so much fun to do, and I hope that people do enjoy reading this.
Well, I have such an urge to copy and paste. I got to be honest, and I fight it and then don't do anything, because I would just. It's just funny because there's just certain things I can't achieve that level. I would just soon rather send our people to to those sites, and we will do that, because we know there's just a lot of good people around town, and I'm not afraid to say that. When people do well.
You've already brought me ice cream once this season. We can work out a trade, right?
You had a sore throat, man. You were suffering. I just couldn't see it.
That was brutal.
That
was brutal. Thank you again for that. I was telling someone that story not long ago when I couldn't swallow food for 2 weeks. Kevin brought me ice cream at a Blue Jackets game, and it was the nicest part of the night.
Yeah, well, I know where the stand is located. Let's just say that. So folks should go now. And First Ohio Battery, by the way, affiliated with 11 Warriors. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah.
Who does? They obviously do such a great job with Ohio State football. So they have the same quality on the hockey side. So people need to find that, and especially again previews just before the games. And during games to keep up if you can't put the TV on or whatever you're doing, it's a great way to stay in touch. So, hey, thanks for coming on. I don't think I'll be at trivia tonight, but probably next week. All right.
Hey, my mom is going tonight, so
well, I'm not going to compete with her.
She said, I'm coming to trivia night. I'll see you. I said, okay, well, sounds good. But I don't help her. They do okay. Her and her friends, they do okay.
Well, you just can't start a question with, when I was in second grade, what was my,
That yes, they do make her drink strong there though. She's popped in a few times before over the years.
Oh,
I tell them, I said, don't
make she's got a driver. That's all we care about.
Yes.
Have fun.
Yes,
have fun. Well, and then finally, just say to you, I want to thank you. You're starting to help us out a little bit with some things, and we'll talk more about that as we go. But just looking forward to that. Looking forward to hanging out and covering stuff and sitting in the press box when we get to the fall. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure I'll see you before then. But hey, we're only about a month away from the schedule coming out, so I'm looking forward to that too. I want to see what we're looking at, when those road trips are, when those homestands are. So
we got to do a couple of those this year.
Historical.
Yeah, we got to do that. We've got to go up and see Cleveland play. There's a lot of there's minor league hockeys everywhere. We should take in some of those. So
let's do it.
All right, man. Well, hey, thanks for being the first ever guest on the Daily Scrum.
Thank you for having me. It is an honor, and I love what you're doing right now. You got a lot of good things happening, and it's. I think there are big things to come.
Well, let's hope so. All right. Hey, Ed Francis with us from First Ohio Battery and all kinds of other stuff. Ed, thanks, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
So Ed Francis, our first ever guest on the Daily Scrum. That was exciting. We had, so just the vagaries of equipment. I've been around electronics since, 40, 50 years, now 50 years in the business. And if you're doing math, 65 years old, I just turned, but I've been doing this since I was 16, so almost 50 years. But today, the piece of equipment that we tested out to have that phone call just right in there just did not want to cooperate. So we did kind of an old-fashioned analog, put the phone up to the microphone, and that worked. If you have the right microphone, everything will work. But we thank Ed Francis again. And I wasn't kidding about checking out First Ohio Battery with the stuff that they do. They do very well. We'll talk more. Lots of great writers and media people that cover the Blue Jackets, and we'll have a chance, I hope, to talk to a lot of them, but I'm glad we had Ed first because he and I share that part of the row up there, highly perched above the ice, and we have a great time. He's been nice enough to share his knowledge with me since we started hanging out. So anyway, give big thanks to Ed. All right, we've got a few more local things. We talked about the Clippers not being on the winning side today. They fall 5-0 in Rochester in a game that started at 11. That's when they bring the kids in for the day, and they're loud and pounding on the seats. As an old minor league play-by-play announcer, love to have the kids there, but the noise, yikes. We used to travel with the teams I worked with up to Canton to Thurman Munson Stadium, and they had the loudest metal seats ever, the way they were attached or something, and that I will never forget that sound. But Ryan Mitchell was the guy that had to do that today up in Rochester for 9:20 a.m. And he'll be back at it tomorrow night, 6:45 game in Rochester. Okay, what else we got going on? The Crew plays tonight at lower.com field back at home after falling to Charlotte over the weekend. Only their second loss of the season. The other one was up in Cleveland, the big game there against Inter Miami. Both were 1-goal losses. They still find themselves in third. One of those teams they play tonight, Nashville SC. Nashville and Orlando City and the Crew all tied with 27 points in third place in the MLS Eastern Conference. But Nashville comes in hot. They have an 8-game unbeaten streak coming in tonight to face the Crew. So it'd be good deal for the Black and Gold to get back on the winning side tonight, try to push themselves away from Nashville just a little bit in the standings. If you're going tonight, the players to watch for Nashville, a couple of guys, their two leading scorers, forward Sam Surridge. He's out of England. He will wear number 9. This will be easy to remember. Number 9 and number 10 are their big scorers. Number 10 is midfielder Hani Mukhtar, and he is a German player. So a couple international guys, the leading scorers for Nashville coming in. Our Kevin Lamb will be there to take photos tonight. So we'll have a gallery or some semblance of his photos tomorrow. And I learned I got corrected when we started doing C-Bus Sports, kind of a newspaper idea. Got corrected on a lot of phrases since I never really worked at a newspaper. But I was trying to kind of run one sort of. But you don't call them pictures ever. So to the extent I've done that today, you don't call them that. You call them photos, or what you call them with the photographers is art. Send me your art. And I learned that early on. So Kevin Lamb will be there and will send me art later tonight, and we'll try to build a gallery for him. And if you go to C-Bus Sports, we've done a lot of galleries. Another person who really kind of dominates the photos and should. He's been around not as long as I have, but pretty close, and that's John Hulkenberg. I'm sorry. Got going here as I was reading. But we call him Hulk, so that's what I'm used to saying. Hulk is a fantastic photographer, and tonight he is going to be at a baseball game, a high school baseball game for us. Watkins is playing at New Albany in a district game, and he'll be there to cover that. So we'll have lots of photos, lots of art, or if you're like me, lots of pictures to show you tomorrow with John Hulkenberg and Kevin Lamb. All right. That is the Crew game tonight. So we'll have a story for you on the overnight, either late tonight or if you want to see it on first thing tomorrow morning, we'll do that. And our stories, again, what we like to do at C-Bus Sports is we like to do a little shorter, not a feature story, not a full game story. We like to do a little bit shorter. So if you're getting caught up, a little bit easier to read. That's our niche in doing this. And we don't charge anything on C-Bus Sports, no paywall where we are. So you can pick that up and know what's happened. So if you're going in the office tomorrow, you can kind of look at that quickly and get a pretty good read on what happened. Talk to your coworkers about it. The other thing that starts tomorrow, in addition to some high school stuff we'll talk about here in a minute, but the Memorial Tournament starts tomorrow. We weren't able to get credentials this year. We're a little too young. Hopefully we'll be able to do our show there next year. I actually covered the Memorial back years ago when I did it for WHIZ in Zanesville. We did it on one of those Zach Morris phones. I would call in during the afternoon shifts and tell them what was going on. So I have covered it. Hopefully we'll get back out there next year and do it, and maybe even run the show from out there. It'd be a lot of fun. All right, the pick. Oh, well, a couple things. A couple players that aren't going to play. Jason Day, who I love seeing out there, of course, living in Westerville, the Australian, but his wife is from this area, and, of course, their family now all out in Westerville, where he's built a beautiful kind of practice hole, green driving area out there. And but he's injured, so he will not be able to play. He's had done well in the early part of this season, but just developed an injury that will keep him out of the Memorial. The other person got a little bit of news yesterday is Rory McIlroy is not playing, and he let him know, but he didn't call Jack Nicklaus. And it was interesting because there's so much clickbait in video captions and, headlines and all that. And it made it sound like Jack Nicklaus was really upset about it. I'm sure he was a little disappointed they didn't get a call, but it wasn't as contentious as some of the headlines would have you believe. He said he understood that he wasn't playing, and that he had, he likes to play the week before the U.S. Open, which is next week, the U.S. Open in 2 weeks, and he wasn't really upset about it. But again, that doesn't get you any clicks, so people kind of ran with it. I don't think it was quite that contentious. Jack Nicklaus pretty transparent in his talk. He doesn't hold much back usually, and didn't seem upset to me. Maybe just a little disappointed that he hadn't learned it from Rory himself. But there won't be any Jason Day or Rory McIlroy in the tournament this year. But a lot of course, outstanding players. And the picks, I'll tell you my picks. And Scotty Scheffler would be too easy. So let's take him. It was like back in the day with Tiger Woods. It was kind of Tiger versus the field. Scotty's kind of playing like that this year again. That's why he's number one in the world. But here are the three that I think might make some noise this week. Colin Morikawa, who was second last year. He's got a couple of second-place finishes. Had him early this season. Was 14th at the Masters. Did not play well at the PGA. Was 50th, but he did make the cut. Took last week off. So he's coming in with fresh legs and, having a good season. And the reason I really pick him is he is second in driving accuracy. And if you've seen any of the reports out there this week, the rough with all the rain we've had is pretty high. I don't think they're going to get it cut down for any reason. And so a guy like Morikawa, who's pretty accurate, I think will have a pretty good week. The other guys, and again, also accurate players, you've got Sepp Straka, who has won twice already this year. He did miss the cut at the PGA, so I don't know if that's a trend or just kind of one of those one-offs, but he has won, accurate driver of the golf ball. And then the other guy is Daniel Berger, who is in the top 10 in terms of driver accuracy. He missed the cut last week, but he's had really good, solid top 5 finishes this season. So again, my guys to look at are Morikawa, Sepp Straka, and Daniel Berger. So put that down on your list of who to follow out there. And, of course, Scotty Scheffler. Okay, I whispered it just enough. Okay. What else we got going? We have a story up on CBUS Sports Now. Just a quick summary with a list of the local area boys / young men playing in the state tennis finals tomorrow and Friday, led by Division I's Shane Hand, a junior out at Olentangy Liberty. He's undefeated this year, 20-0. Has had a good season. And the other three, Nick, I think it's Schaff out there, or it could be Shao. Of course, with my name is very similar with a CH instead of a GH, SHOUGH. So sorry if I butchered that. Senior out of Dublin, Kaufman. Gianni Russo, a senior out of Marysville. And Tyler Thomas, a junior from New Albany, all qualified in the Division I singles, but I think the guy to beat is Shane Hand from Olentangy Liberty. He was fourth in the finals last year's state tournament. Okay, Division I doubles. We've got a team out of New Albany, Dandu and Clements. Olentangy Orange has Rutherford and Patel. Upper Arlington has a couple of doubles teams, Lloyd and Goyle, and Holly and Malicki. So New Albany, Olentangy Orange, Upper Arlington has two. Those are the Division I doubles. Now in Division II, we only get two area people in each, the singles and the doubles. Nason Lowe out of Columbus Academy and Jacob Kowalski out of Columbus Academy are the two singles players in Division II from the area. And then in doubles, a really interesting matchup. Sam Lassard and his younger brother, Henry, from Bexley will be in the doubles. And by the way, my odds-on favorite for the doubles. Henry won the state singles last year as a freshman, but had a little bit of a injury this year and probably would have done this anyway, but he wanted to go with doubles with his brother and see if they can win it. So be fun to watch. Again, I'll going up tomorrow. That's one of the teams I want to see. And then the second doubles team, another Columbus Academy team, as they have 3 out of the 4, 3 in singles and doubles. Lucas Shua and Rowan Lowe will play doubles for Academy. And again, we'll go up Thursday. The finals are Friday at the College of Worcester. No charge to get in there and watch all that go on, I don't think. They got refreshments and all kinds of stuff. And it's a great place to watch. So try to make it up and see those guys play. Henry Lassard's match last year to win the singles was incredible. A lot of fun to watch. One of the things I'll remember always. Okay. We've got softball tonight. I don't think it's raining anymore. We're down in Studio B here, but I don't have a window. But I think we're going to clear out. And in fact, they should already be playing and almost done, maybe done with a couple of them. But D1 tonight at Big Walnut, Lancaster, Olentangy, Gahanna. At London and D1, Marysville, Delaware Hayes, Grove City. And then D2 at Pick Central, Mount Vernon, Watkins, Taze Valley, Scioto. And we will talk about those tomorrow. That's the regional semifinals tonight in the tournament. So we'll talk about that tomorrow, about the winners who will compete to go to the state tournament in Akron. Also, tomorrow we will have a story about the state boys volleyball tournament. That will be at Wittenberg this weekend, Friday and Saturday. I'll be there Saturday. We'll have a story about that tomorrow on CBUS Sports. We'll talk about it tomorrow right here. And then I just, real quick, as I know we're just past that hour mark, I wanted to mention that the OHSAA every year gives Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award winners to coaches throughout the state. And we had some local coaches that we wanted to recognize who will receive that Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity Award. On the girls' side, in field hockey, Sarah Zink at Dublin Scioto, and in softball, Larry Peck at Columbus Whetstone. And if you know Whetstone, man, they love baseball and softball out there. And so softball coach Larry Peck, who's a good one, he gets the award for Sportsmanship, Ethics, and Integrity. So congratulations to Sarah and Larry. And then 3 in boys sports in the area. In golf, Steve Schill at Pickerington North. Jim Wasmuth at Franklin Heights. He's the tennis coach there on the boys' side. And then in volleyball for the boys at Mount Vernon, Chad Siveright. And I hope I've said that correctly. I'll spell it for you just in case. Sivewrighd. All of those folks. And again, for the boys, Steve Schill, Jim Wasmuth, Chad Siveright. Congratulations to all of them. That is not an award that is just given away for nothing. You have earned that from people recognize the way you approach coaching in the sport. So congratulations to all of those. Okay, tomorrow, what do we got that we're going to tell you about? Again, we're going to review the crew game that is tonight. We'll talk again about Memorial and who's off to a hot start from the morning in the first round tomorrow at Muirfield Village. Will we have an NBA and NHL finals team? Both of the games tonight are 3-1 matchups. As I mentioned, John Hulkenberg who I always do want to make Hulkenberger. I don't know why. But John Hulkenberg will be at Watkins Memorial in New Albany in the district final baseball game there. We'll have photos for that. And one thing we didn't mention, Ohio State begins NCAA track and field competition. And they have 23 athletes that will start tomorrow. And the athlete that we're watching tomorrow, Leah Bertrand, I think that's how she says it. She is second in the country in the 100 meters. So hopefully she will fare well in the first part of the NCAA track and field competition. And we're working on another guest, and we hope that it goes a little more smoothly. That's why I was glad to have Ed today, because I knew he would hang with it, and he did indeed. All right. We always finish up with a trivia question just to give you something to think about, knowing you can just look it up right away. We hope that you'll try to answer it first, and then we'll talk about it tomorrow. Yesterday, we asked you what the oldest brewery in the United States was. Still family-owned, the largest craft brewing brewery, the largest owned only by people from the United States brewery. It's located in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And if you said Yuengling, you were absolutely correct. They're like on their 5th or 6th generation of family ownership over there in Pottsville. They also do some joint ventures with Coors across the country. So Yuengling, that was it, the oldest brewery in the United States. And that came up on a Cubs broadcast that I was listening to. So that's why we did it. All right, today we have a question about, actually kind of a two-parter. Since we were talking about the Clippers today, hopefully they get back on the winning side tomorrow night. When did the Clippers begin their run? What year in Columbus? And of course, that was at Franklin County Stadium. So what year did the Clippers begin their run in Columbus? Second part was, what was the name of the previous minor league team that left town 6 years before that? So there was a gap of 6 years where we did not have minor league baseball. Some other stuff going on, but there's a big effort that we'll talk about someday. Maybe we'll do a history segment about the time in Columbus when a lot of people went to bat to try to get minor league baseball back in Columbus, and they were successful with the Clippers, who now playing at Huntington Park, one of the best minor league baseball facilities in the country. We're lucky like that because the Blue Jackets have the same thing, and now the Crew does as well. We're very lucky here to see those facilities go hang out there, and those folks are so nice to offer those to not just the home team. So much else goes on in those facilities that are really a great asset. All of them are great assets for City of Columbus. So again, the question, what year did the Clippers begin their run in Columbus? And what was the name of the previous minor league team that left town 6 years before that? Well, that's going to do it for us today. Is we got through our kind of interesting. We're going to work on it. We're going to put the team back on it, see what we can do to make that a little bit easier in the future. But again, we thank Ed Francis for being with us today. And we thank you for listening in. We hope you'll continue. We're going to make it more fun. We're trying to figure out what we're doing. Well, you figured that part out, but just by listening. All right, that'll do it for us today. Hey, everybody, I'm Kevin Rouch, and this is the Daily Scrum. Good afternoon.